laptop. And oh yes, Prabhu, thank you. Very, very good. We can start. Thank you. So, Bhagavata Pravaha. I'm not sure if the settings are right. Is everything okay? Please let me know. Yeah? From my
Yes.
side. Yes?
Yes, Mother.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Bhagavata Pravaham, Srimad Bhagavata Pravaham. So, we have discussed, we have heard the significance of Bhagavatam, overview of Bhagavatam, then significance of Bhagavatam, the whole summary of Bhagavatam in 1 hour. And then after that, we have heard the first canto, second canto, and now we are hearing the third canto. And in this third canto, we have divided it into, first is Uddhava Vidura Samvada, and then Vidura is sent to Maitreya. So the second topic is Maitreya Vidura Samvada. After that, Lord Varaha's pastimes, where we have heard the glories of Vaikuntha. Second. Glories of Vaikuntha. And after that, we have heard Kardama Muni and Devahuti Kada. And now we are hearing about Lord Kapila's teachings, instructions. So here in Lord Kapila's teachings, so technical things here. In Lord Kapila's teachings, Mother Devahuti comes to Lord Kapila and asks about the first question. She asked is, oh my Lord, oh my dear Lord, this is what Mother Devahuti addresses Lord Kapila. Oh my dear Lord, I am really feeling miserable because of my aham mameti cloud. So how can I get rid of this aham mameti cloud, illusion? That was the question. So for that first question, Lord Kapila answers that one can get rid of this illusory cloud by 3 ways. This one can come out of this cloud by Adhyatmika Yoga. That is the process. And this process can be done in 3 ways. One is Jnana Yoga, second is Ashtanga Yoga, and third one is Bhakti Yoga. And amongst all these 3, Bhakti Yoga is the best. He endorses that. And after that, Mother Devahuti says, this is very wonderful. So, what kind of Bhakti Yoga is superior? What is best? To that question, Lord Kapila says, Bhava Bhakti. If somebody can do Bhava Bhakti, that's the best kind of Bhakti Yoga. That's the answer to the second one. Then Mother Devahuti says, then what if somebody cannot do Bhava Bhakti spontaneously? When they cannot practice Bhakti with spontaneous emotion, then what do they have to do? For that, Lord Kapila says, then they have to start Sadhana Bhakti. After, so this Sadhana Bhakti would come now. But after that second question, Mother Devahuti says, oh, okay, this is wonderful. I would like to know about Sadhana Bhakti. But before going to that, just out of curiosity, can you tell me something about Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga also? So, to the answer to the third question is, what is Jnana Yoga? Then Lord Kapila summarizes. The whole thing tells about the Jnana Yoga. And at the very end, he also says how these Jnana Yogis, they come to this conclusion of how the whole world is an illusion. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. They come to that conclusion, and then their focus will be on Brahman. And in this way, through knowledge, they take the path of detachment, and then they will enter into Brahman. And in this way, they come out of Aham Mameti illusion. That's Jnana Yoga. After that, he explains about Ashtanga Yoga. So we have heard in detail about the Ashtanga Yoga, all the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, and how Jnana Yogis also take up this mechanical process of this Ashtanga Yoga to enter into Brahma Jyoti. But if somebody does the Ashtanga Yoga, and when they have the darshan of Paramatma, when they can taste the bhakti rasa, then they will be turned into bhakti yogis. And their destination would be to the Vaikuntha, to continue the Dasya Bhava, right? So in that way, they become bhakti yogis. There we have compared Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga also. So that's the last thing we have heard. And so now we are coming to the sadhana bhakti, to the question of Mother Devahuti's question of what do I do? What do people do if they cannot do bhava bhakti spontaneously? So that will be the topic today, sadhana bhakti. But to continue the questions, Mother Devahuti asks about this sadhana bhakti. Also, she asks about the time factor. Okay, she recognizes time as the manifestation of the Lord too. So she asks about the time. And the last thing is, she also says, can you please tell us more about this birth and death cycle? That way, if somebody hears about how miserable this birth and death and cycle is, then they would automatically come to take up this process of Bhakti Yoga. So can you explain about this? These are the requests of Mother Deva. So now we are left with these three topics. One is sadhana bhakti, yeah, and what is time? And the third one is, can you tell me about this birth and death cycle? Samsriti is birth and death cycle. So these are the three topics that are left over in the third canto. Today we will focus on sadhana bhakti and the time factor, and about the samsriti or life and death cycle, that we will do later part. So now our focus is this sadhana bhakti. So here in sadhana bhakti, Lord Kapila, what he teaches here is, first Lord Kapila gives us the information about different kinds of bhaktis. We wonder what different kinds of bhakti. Bhakti is pure, right? It's like when we ask for water to drink, we don't necessarily have to say, can you bring me the pure water so I want to drink? No, it is implied that we want pure water to drink. Like that, bhakti means pure. Then where is this different kinds of bhaktis coming from? It's like this. Ganges, Mother Ganga, she is pure. The origin of Mother Ganga is from the lotus feet of Lord Hari. So she is pure. But as she passes from the transcendental world there through all the planetary systems, and then comes to the earth, and then as she passes through different parts of the world, then the same Ganges water, Mother Ganga, she may be, the industrial dump is released into Ganga water. Then, though Mother Ganga is pure, when sewage is dumped in there, the same Ganga water is contaminated and will look into black water. It will turn as black water, looks black. And if, say, some other kind of, say, red industrial waste is dumped, then same pure Mother Ganga, but looks like red water, contaminated water. And same Mother Ganga, when she passes as, rivers through the villages, they can use that water to wash their clothes, to bathe the battle, and for the domestic uses. So then it is pure Ganga, but is contaminated by the domestic use, like that. In the same way, bhakti is pure to start with, Shuddha, pure, like Mother Ganga. But when bhakti is practiced by a person who has tamoguna, who is in mode of ignorance, tamoguna, then their bhakti comes out as, black Ganga water. Like when Ganga is passing through black sewage, then It comes out as black water. So actual pure bhakti, when practiced by a person who is in tamoguna, then bhakti comes out as black. That is tamoguna bhakti. And when the pure bhakti is practiced by a person who has predominantly rajoguna, passionate, their nature is passion, but they started doing bhakti. So whatever bhakti they are doing, because they are passionate, all the bhakti that they do is like red bhakti. Passion is generally depicted as red. Ignorance is depicted as black. That's why I'm saying black bhakti, red bhakti, like that. So, and if somebody is starting to do bhakti, and if they have predominantly a little more of goodness than the passion or ignorance, then their bhakti, practice of bhakti, looks a little better than the other black bhakti and red bhakti. This is more like a white bhakti, bubbly bhakti, because when the Ganga water is used for domestic purposes, there is not much of color to it. But the water is bubbly, foamy, because it is still polluted with the domestic use, like that. So the bhakti in the mode of goodness looks really good. They are really peaceful. Yeah, peaceful and steady, but still it's more bubbly. It's still in the mode of goodness. And beyond that is Shuddha Bhakti. That is pure Ganga water. There is no color to it and no bubbles to it. That is like pure Ganga water is Shuddha Bhakti. So like that. And this is why Lord Kapila, he explains about different kinds of bhakti in the very beginning. Okay. So that's the first topic we will be discussing today, as Lord Kapila explains different kinds of bhakti. After that, Lord Kapila explains why is this very first topic that Lord Kapila is saying. He could have directly gone to sadhana bhakti, right? But the point is, all of us, before we started doing bhakti, we are full of either ignorance or passion or maybe goodness, a mixed of a little bit of this and that, like that, right? So that's why when we start bhakti, it is implied that we already have these modes, tamoguna, rajoguna, and maybe little sattva-guna, right? So in the beginning, these are the kinds of bhaktis that come out of us, not the pure bhakti. That's why Lord Kapila is showing us how the black bhakti looks, red bhakti looks, foamy bhakti looks. Rajoguna, tamoguna, rajoguna, sattvaguna, and shuddha bhakti. So that will be the description given first by Lord Kapila. After explaining different kinds of bhakti and explaining shuddha bhakti, he gives the process of sadhana bhakti. It's because by the time we hear all these three kinds of bhakti, we will realize that we will fall somewhere there with a different bit of proportion of each mode within us. So now that we have seen that we kind of fit in with one of those bhaktis there, Lord Kapila is guiding us of what to do next. To come from this colored bhakti to Shuddha bhakti, what to do. Lord Kapila would give us instructions in the second topic about the sadhana bhakti. That we will hear. After that, Lord Kapila nicely explains how it is very rare to get this human birth. And in human birth, about the pure devotee, how it is very rare. It's beautiful. So that topic will come next. And after that, about the time, how Lord is a time factor. So these are the 4 subtopics for us today. Okay. So coming to the first subtopic of what are different kinds of bhaktis, that we will hear from Lord Kapila. We will go to the PowerPoint now. The sharing part. share it. Yes, that's Lord Kapila, Mother Devahuti. So glad to be with them back again, right? Okay, so now these are the questions. We have already gone through this. Yeah. So now we are discussing about, we are hearing about sadhana bhakti from Lord Kapila. So Mother Devahuti, she has asked these questions about sadhana bhakti, about time, and about Sanskrit. And now Mother Devahuti is saying, "Oh my dear Lord, you are like a sun giving illumination to those who are blind, sleeping in samsara, and fatigued due to attachment. So please tell us more about this bhakti." This is what Mother Devahuti asks. A little take home for us here is, sleeping in samsara is all those jivas, all those people who are not awakened to their real position as soul and not starting to practice spirituality, start practicing bhakti. They are considered to be sleeping. And next one is, so at least we have started the process of bhakti yoga. So that way we are fortunate. We are waking up because we have started sadhana bhakti. So we are waking up. The next point is, she's saying fatigued due to attachment. Why fatigued due to attachment? Because this reminds us of, Yudhishthira, how he responded, how he felt when he came to know that Duryodhana and Gandhari left to the forest. He was very sad and bewildered, and Narada had to come there and then remind him, Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira, remember, you're just a caretaker, but you are not the controller. He had to remind Yudhishthira there. So Yudhishthira was very compassionate. He was doing his responsibility, taking care of the elders, but he was so disturbed that he could not see that he is limited in his caregiving. At a certain point, as caregivers to our friends or families or whoever around, we will hit a limit. After that, there is not a lot we could do, right? Then we have to see what our limitation is. And then we just have to leave it back to the supreme controller. If we do not do that, we get fatigued, we get affected. In the name of responsibility and affection, if we don't realize how limited we are, we get fatigued. But if we realize our limitation, still do our best to our capacity and leave the rest to the Lord when there is not much we can do, then we don't get fatigued. Then that would simply be doing our service. But when we don't realize our limitation, then it can affect us. That's why hearing these instructions from Lord Kapila about bhakti and about what our status is as jiva and what the Lord's status is as Bhagavan, with this knowledge, with this shastra, we will know where our limitation is. So this will help us not to get fatigued when we are giving care to others. Yeah, those are the take-home points for us, especially for the caregivers. And then now, Lord Kapila is explaining. Beautiful. The Lord starts to explain different kinds of bhakti now. I'm just going to say tamasic bhakti. If you hear me saying black bhakti, that is tamasic bhakti, because ignorance is depicted as black. Rajasic is red. Sattvic is white in color, like that. So here Lord Kapila is describing bhakti in different gunas. All of us have these gunas. A little bit of ignorance, a little bit of passion, a little bit of goodness. We have these three things mixed, all of us. The ratio may vary for each one of us. So the practice of bhakti that we do is dependent on predominantly what mode we are in. So let's see what happens when a person who has predominantly ignorance practices bhakti, the passion and goodness. Here we will see what they feel inside, what they do outside. For somebody who is practicing, who is in ignorance predominantly and practicing bhakti. If we go to the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, the 14th, 16th, 17th and 18th has information about the modes. So somebody who has ignorance as predominantly, their bhakti is more violent. So they feel hatred inside, hatred and proud inside and violent outside. That is tamasika bhakti. Though they are practicing bhakti, though they are trying to connect with the Supreme, whatever religion it might be, Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva, Durgama, or Muslims, Allah, or Jesus, or whoever it is. Whoever is trying to practice bhakti or trying to get connected to Supreme, whatever name they might be given, if their intention inside is to hurt others, if they have that hatred and pride inside, and if their words and actions are harming others, then it is to be known that they are practicing bhakti in ignorance. That violence can be physical violence, sometimes suicide bombers, right? Physical violence, all in the name of Allah. What is that? Bhakti in ignorance. And giving animal sacrifices. Yeah, if you have bhakti to Durgama or Lord Shiva, why kill an animal? Violence, right? So bhakti in violence. And in devotees, say in devotees of Vishnu or Krishna, then they are away from physical violence, right? Because that's the requirement for the worship of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. But there can be violence coming out in the words, not being sensitive to others like that, right? So these are the subtle practice of bhakti in ignorance when it comes. So it can be from gross violence physically to subtle violence to others. Then that is bhakti in ignorance, tamasika bhakti. Second, rajasika bhakti. What do they feel within? They want a recognition inside. They don't really have hatred or want to hurt others, but they want recognition. That's where their enjoyment is. In tamasic bhakti, their enjoyment is others suffering. In rajasika bhakti, their enjoyment is others recognizing them. Because so inside is they want recognition. So outside, how do they do bhakti? Very pompously, in a very evident manner. Yeah, and checking if they have the recognition coming, if they have the fame coming, the following coming, like that. So that's bhakti in passion. Yeah. Next, sattvika bhakti. How do they feel inside? They are a little more detached. They are not violent, and they are not after recognition, but they want to be peaceful. So their happiness is in peace. In ignorance, their happiness is in causing violence to others in the name of bhakti, through the bhakti practice, by hurting others. In passion, their happiness is doing things in bhakti so they can get the recognition. In goodness, they practice bhakti so they can be peaceful. That's good, right? That's very good. But Shuddha Bhakti is so beyond goodness, it just gets even more better. Just if the Bhakti in goodness itself is so good that they are non-envious, that they are peaceful, that they are balanced, that they are helpful. If that itself is so good, what to speak of Shuddha Bhakti? So these are the Bhakti. Bhakti in mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. How they feel inside, what gives them enjoyment inside, and how they behave outside. Okay? And now coming to the Shuddha Bhakti, actual Bhakti. What is that? Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya hi Udahratam Ahaituki Avyavahita Ya Bhakti Purushottame. This is the actual Bhakti. This is the pure Ganga with no color, no bubbles. What is that? Lakshanam. These are the qualities. Bhakti Yogasya of Bhakti Yoga. Nirgunasya. It has no guna. It has no tamasic guna. Not the ignorance, not the passion, and beyond goodness too. Nirgunasya hi udaharatam. Ahaituki avyatihata. And this bhakti flows from the heart. Yeah. This bhakti that flows from the heart of a pure devotee. The pure devotion is ahaituki, is causeless, in the sense like these pure devotees, like Prahlad Maharaj or the gopis, all the Brajavasis. They don't have a reason why they want to love Krishna. They just love Krishna. They just want to see him happy. They don't care if Krishna gives them something back, or Krishna is going to make them happy or give them something to be happy. They don't care. Ahaituki. There is no reason why I want you to see you happy, Krishna. I just want to see you happy. I just want to please you. Ahaituki. Don't ask me a reason why I want to see you happy. I just want to see you happy. Ahaituki. There is no reason why I want to please you. There is no reason why I want to love you, Krishna. Ahaituki. You give me the problems. You give me the testing. You just go away. Whatever you want to do, you do it. I have no problem. But do not ask me a reason why I want to love you. That is ahaituki, no reason. And avyavahita, there is no break in between two. It's constantly, all the time they're like that. With who? Ya bhakti purushottame. When the jiva is like that, with that devotional flow towards Purushottama, Lord Krishna. So very specific. Bhakti is from the jiva to the Purushottama, to the super soul, Sri Krishna Paramatma. And that kind of bhakti is unconditional. No matter what you do, my Lord, I want to please you. Please you, avyavahita, at all times, under all circumstances. That is that flow of bhakti rasa from the heart of a jiva towards the Paramatma is bhakti. And how does this pure devotees, how does that flow? Madguna shruti matrena mai sarva guhashaye manogatir avichinna yada gangambu sombodhav. These pure devotees, like see, for example, let's take Prahlad Maharaj. Madguna shruti matrena. When they hear about my guna, madguna, the qualities of the Lord, shruti matrena, just by hearing about my qualities, Mayi sarva guhashaye, me sarva guhashaye, who is residing in everybody's heart. The Lord is saying, when these pure devotees hear about me, who is residing in everybody's heart, just by hearing about me, mano gatir avichinna, their mana, here the consciousness heart, mano gatir avichinna, their heart paves their path, avichinna, without interruption. Yadha gangambuso ambudo, as Ganga makes her way, despite all the obstacles that come in her way, to the ocean. So, despite all the obstacles, how Ganges, Mother Ganga, flows towards the ocean, in that way, the Bhakti Rasa of a Jiva, of a pure devotee, makes its way uninterruptedly towards me, who is residing in the heart of everybody, just simply by hearing about my guna. That is how a pure devotee is. That is how the bhakti in the heart of a pure devotee flows with such a flow, such a strong flow, that it is not stopped by any obstacles and has to meet its destination, the lotus feet of the Lord. Yeah, so that's pure devotee. That's what Lord Kapila is saying. Pure devotees, bhakti rasa is like that. It flows like that, despite all the obstacles. Like, see, gopis, all the obstacles that they have had, physical obstacles. When Lord Krishna was singing the flute in the middle of the night in Vrindavan forest, gopis had physical obstacles. They could not come out. Their family members had to restrain them. And the mental, social obstacles are huge. They are married women, they have children. And here, at the other level, on the other level, they are all Prakriti. There's only one Purusha, that's Lord Krishna. Everybody else are Prakriti and are to be enjoyed by the Lord. That is the Tattva. But when coming to the pastimes, so here the gopis, they didn't care what social obstacles they had, and they didn't care about themselves. They just wanted to go there to Lord Krishna. So any obstacle, starting from the physical to social to any obstacle, they did not stop gopis to go to the forest. Right? So avichinna, uninterrupted, and against all the obstacles. And not only that, if we remember where Narada, in that story, where Lord Krishna in Dwaraka was faking a headache, and he wanted the dust of a devotee so he can apply and the headache would go away, no one in Dwaraka would give it. They would be like, what? My foot dust to the Lord? I don't want to go to hell. That is undoable. We cannot hear that. So they were concerned about what would happen to them if they give their foot dust to the Lord. Out of respect or they would not want to go to hell. But when it came to gopis, when they heard that from Narada, that Lord Krishna is having headache and he's just looking for the dust, what did gopis do? Without second thought, take my foot dust. Okay, buckets and buckets, they filled of dust to send it to Krishna. Why? Don't they know that they would go to hell? They don't care. They're like, I don't care what happens to me. I want Krishna to be happy. I want Krishna's headache to go away. That is a hyper, like that. And look at the flow of their bhakti rasa. Nothing would stop them. Not the fear of going to the hell too. That's pure devotee. So that's the definition of pure devotee. And the bhakti rasa, the strong bhakti rasa that flows from the heart of a pure devotee towards the Lord in the heart. Okay. So when that bhakti rasa is flowing with such flow, do they care for liberation? Their bhakti rasa is flowing to reciprocate with the Lord, to serve the Lord, to please the Lord. And if the Lord says, the Lord is saying, Salokya Sashti Samipya Sarupya Ekatvam Apiyuta Diyamanam na Grahnati Vina Matsevanam Jana. What to speak of these pure devotees? Even when I want to give, Grahnati. Diyamanam na Grahnati. Even when I want to give them liberation, na Grahnanti. They don't want to take. Liberation of Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya, Sarupya, Ekatvam. 5 kinds of liberations. Merging in the Brahman. Salokya, being on the same planet of the Lord. Sarshti, having the same opulence of the Lord. Samipya, not only being on the same planet, but being close, physical proximity to the Lord. Samipya. Sarupya, having the same form of the Lord. These are all good. But they would not take any of these things if there is no service involved. I mean, all the Vaikuntavasis, they have the service too. But the emphasis here is they would reject anything and everything if there is no reciprocation with me, if there is no service that they are offering to me. So that is the flow of that Bhakti Rasa of the pure devotees. They want nothing for themselves, not the liberation, but just want to serve me, to see me happy. Vina mat sevanam janaha. If there is no seva for me, then they don't want anything. These are the qualities of pure devotees. This is the strength of the flow of Bhakti Rasa from their heart. And this is their single-minded, laser-sharp focus. Seva of Bhagavan only. They want nothing else. And then Lord Kapila says, this is the greatness of Bhakti. Sa eva bhakti yoga kya atyantika udahrataha. This Bhakti yoga is atyantika. This is supreme udahrata. Why like that? Yena ativrajya trigunam. This is beyond 3 modes. This bhakti, whoever starts practicing bhakti, even if they are in the dirty mode of ignorance, wherever they are at, the bhakti is so powerful that it can pick up anybody beyond these 3 modes. Madbhava upapadyate. So bhakti can pick up anybody from these 3 modes and place on the transcendental platform as the Lord is. Bhava upapadyate. This bhakti can give my bhava, my realm. Because Bhagavan is in Shuddha Sattva. Pure devotee is also in Shuddha Sattva. Like that. So the potency of bhakti is described here. No matter whoever takes up bhakti, how much of ignorance they might be having, but if they start practicing bhakti, zoom from ignorance to passion to goodness to beyond goodness to pure devotees. Where is the example? Again, shining examples. When Prabhupada came here, hippies, what to say about their modes? Very clearly, predominantly ignorant. But after practicing Bhakti Yoga with the instruction of the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, where are they now? Pure devotees. That's the potency of bhakti given by the Shuddha Bhaktas. That's the bhakti, potency of it. So far we have heard about 3 kinds of bhakti. After that, we heard about Shuddha Bhakti and how strong is the flow of Bhakti Rasa from Shuddha Bhakta, the definition of Shuddha Bhakti, and how for a Shuddha Bhakta, nothing matters. They don't want anything, even the liberation. Nothing for them, and not even the liberation if there is no seva of Bhagavan. And here, in the last verse, we have heard about the potency of bhakti, how it can uplift anybody from anywhere and put them on the spiritual platform. So that's about the stages of bhakti. This is wonderful. We have heard this now. So by this time, now we know, oh, this is bhakti in ignorance, bhakti in passion, bhakti in goodness, and that Shuddha Bhakti. Now we can check and see. Where do we fall here? Maybe a little bit of this. So after having information about this, after checking ourselves where we are, now Lord Kapila is giving information about what to do. Now that you have mapped yourself in bhakti, now what to do? Now he's giving the instructions of what to do. Okay, so this is about sadhana bhakti. All of us, when we start bhakti, it is by default sadhana bhakti, because we all have those modes. And this is how the bhakti starts. We don't have to get discouraged. This is how the journey begins. So this is the reality. But what to do? How to practice bhakti? How to do sadhana bhakti? And why we should do what we are doing in sadhana bhakti? That we will know in this topic. Okay. So in sadhana bhakti, Lord Kapila is saying, perform swadharma. If we go to Bhagavad Gita, it says, perform swadharma without expecting the result. Yeah, in a detached way. So our swadharma is occupational duties. For us, occupational duties are naimittika dharma. Whatever dharma, whatever responsibilities that we have related to this body, in whatever ashram we are in, those are all naimittika dharmas. To the people around, to the profession we are doing, those are all dharmas that are there for this life, naimittika dharma. Perform all of them in a detached way. Do not get attached to the result. That's one thing. Sadhana bhakti. Yeah, this all comes in the sadhana bhakti. That's perform swadharma without getting attached to the result. Second thing, do the devotion, sadhana bhakti, without violence. Lord Kapila is saying. He initially told us, if we are hurting others with the practice of bhakti that we are doing, it means we are doing tamasika bhakti. He already told us in the beginning that bhakti is tamasik. You have to move on. You have to stop doing that tamasik bhakti. And we don't stop doing bhakti, but we have to move on further in bhakti. So that's why he's saying, do the sadhana bhakti, but do not hurt others. And again, what is it? What is the sadhana bhakti? What does it consist of? Sadhana bhakti, we will come to know. Here it is. Yes, yeah, this is sadhana bhakti. Deity worship, the Panchanga bhakti that we have heard. I'm summarizing what's going to come in the next slide too. So deity worship. Here, Maddishnaya, Darshana, Sparsha. This is deity worship. Looking at the deities, having darshan of the deities, and then touching the deities, abhishek, touching the lotus feet of deities, and worshipping the deities. So everything about the deity. So deity worship, right? And other angas of bhakti are Vaishnava Seva, Harinama, Bhagavata Shravana, Madhuravasa. These are 5. Madhuravasa is residing physically in Madhura or Vraja. If we are not able to do that, Srila Prabhupada says, thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord is residing in Vraja internally. And the four things, this is what we do in sadhana bhakti. Shravanam, Bhagavata Shravana, Harinama Shravana, right? Seva is Vaishnava Seva. So Harinam Shravanam, Bhagavata Shravanam, and Vaishnava Seva, and Vigraha Seva. This is sadhana bhakti. Performing the Shravanam and Seva. Shravanam of Bhagavatam, Shravanam of Harinam. Seva of the devotees, Seva of the deity. This is sadhana bhakti. That's why we do Arati at home to our deities. That's why we do the Vaishnava Seva. This is why we hear the Bhagavatam. Any Bhagavata Katha, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, everything related to Bhagavan. This is why we hear, and that's why we chant Harinama Shravan. This is sadhana bhakti. So doing this every day is sadhana. Okay. So Lord Kapila is saying, so far So that's deity worship, one of the angas in sadhana bhakti. And then he's saying, you have to look at others. Bhuteshu mad bhavanaya. Look at all the living entities in a Krishna conscious way. Means look at them as spirit souls that are connected to me. Okay. We will just read out what Lord Kapila is saying. Everything we will read out. We'll simply hear from him, and then we can summarize. So far, deity worship, Bhuteshu mad bhavanaya, and do the devotion with no violence. Do the naimittika dharma, your responsibilities in this world without attachment to the result. And mahatam bahumanena, respect. It is simplified here as respect, but this has a lot of depth. Mahatam bahumanena, mahatam. All these acharyas, pure devotees, bahumanena, give them utmost respect. Give them utmost respect. And then dinanam anukampaya, show compassion. Maitri evacha atmatulyeshu. This is friendship, compassion and friendship to all living entities, to all the people around. Yamena niyamena cha, follow the rules and regulations. Why to follow rules and regulations? Because these rules and regulations help us to come out of Rajoguna and Tamoguna, at least that part. We may not be feeling very happy following the rules and regulations, but at least it will try to bring us out of Tamoguna and Rajoguna. The happiness comes when we are getting closer to goodness, when we are starting to cultivate the inner qualities. But at least the rules and regulations will help us to stay afloat from Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And then hearing, do the Shravanam, chanting, do the Harinam. These are all the words of Lord Kapila. This is all sadhana bhakti. This is what we do. Simplicity. Arjavena, Arya Sangena. Arjavena is simplicity. Simplicity is just taking the information as such without complicating it, like a child. If mother says something to the child, then the child would just accept it. See, for example, if mother says, say for example, if it's an elephant, but if mother says, child has no idea, but if mother says, oh, that animal is dog, the simplicity of the child is, child has so much trust in mother, then the child would look at elephant and would think, because mother said that it's a dog, then child trust is so much, there is no processing inside. Okay, so whatever information that comes out, the faith is big there. The faith is big there. It is like this. When the Shastra is giving us, presenting us the reality, and when the sadhu is presenting the reality, two things here. Wanting to understand the reality sincerely, and the questions would come up. So respectfully clarifying the questions. If that process is continued, then it means we are walking in the path of simplicity. As opposed to that, if there is a questioning mode, then that is crookedness. Yeah. So having deep faith and respect and clarifying the questions with an intention to get closer to the instruction is simplicity. Yeah. So having that simplicity, and Arya Sangena is association with the devotees, with the spiritualists, and Nirahankara, no false ego. When somebody does all this is sadhana bhakti, then as soon as they hear about the Lord, purified by the angas of bhakti, mind is attracted simply by Shravanam. In the very beginning, when we are hearing Bhagavata or anything about the Lord, the mind is everywhere. And the hearing is going on only 1 or 2%, at the most 20%, not 100% yet. Because the mind is chatting so much about so many things and is everywhere like that. But as we continue with the sadhana bhakti every day, then mind gets to a stage where there's not a lot of chattering go on, and then shravanam is 100%, close to 100% at least. So when that shravanam qualities goes up like that, then they're simply attracted to the object of shravanam. Who is that? Lord Krishna. That's what Kapila is saying here. So in this way, as the air carries aroma from the source, bhakti carries one's mind to the Lord. Bhakti should carry one's mind to the Lord. When we hear about Lord Krishna, our mind should instantaneously go to Lord Krishna. But in the beginning, it doesn't happen, right? Ultimately, as we do the sadhana bhakti, this is what happens. As the air carries aroma, bhakti carries our mind to the Lord. So this is how, and at the very end, Lord Kapila emphasizes this very much. If somebody thinks that they're going to the temple or doing the deity worship and they are worshipping the Lord, and if they think they are doing bhakti, Lord Kapila is saying, if they are disregarding or having hatred to others, other beings, and are criticizing others, then their devotion is simply an imitation. And it is like paying all the oblations in ashes. The devotion is of no use. It's simply an imitation, and they will not be peaceful. That's Lord Kapila saying. This is all about devotion. We are not talking about non-devotees here. We are not hearing about non-devotees here. This is all about devotion only. Anybody in the name of devotion, disregarding others. Oh, I am doing this much of bhakti. You are doing only so much of bhakti. And having hatred for some reason or other. Oh, I am whatever reason. I don't like you because you're doing your bhakti this way, that way. Your service is like that. Your chanting is like that. You are talking like that. Any zillion reasons, whatever reason we may give. If it is to substantiate the hatred or negativity or bitterness that one has towards other devotees, we should know that it is bhakti in ignorance. At least when we know this, then we know, oh, we are still in the lower platform. We have to go further. We will at least feel that. If we don't hear all this from Lord Kapila, then we will think, oh, I am practicing devotion. Yes, I am practicing devotion every day. And yes, of course, I have a reason why I should hate that so-called non-devotees, because they are non-devotees. They are atheists. I hate them. And yeah, of course, they are devotees, but they are this, they are that. That's why I hate them. And see the hatred and criticism nicely in the name of devotion only coming up like that, and disregarding others, how others feel, I don't care. How insensitive, how criticizing and hatred, all this negativity when it comes out of us, when we are doing devotion, we should at least know that we are in the lower platform. We cannot get stuck there. Then what do? We don't stop doing bhakti. I think now we can summarize. What do we do? Okay, this negativity is coming out of us when we are doing bhakti. We have started sadhana bhakti. Yes, we know which kind of bhakti we are practicing. Either it's mostly in ignorance or in passion. Maybe a little bit of goodness here and there. What do I do now? Here, we will see this in the light of Lord Kapila. Summarizing from what he has said, if you see this particular one, Mahatam Bahumanena, giving utmost respect to all these pure devotees. When we start the sadhana bhakti, this is bhakti is like a train track. One line is Mahatam Bahumanena, giving utmost respect and worship to the pure devotees and hearing from them, Shravanam from them, Vani Seva to them, like that. So this track of hearing from the pure devotees and doing the service under their instructions, that should go on. So that association with the pure devotees, Vani from the pure devotees should go on, though we are in sadhana bhakti. And the other track is this sadhana that we are doing. These are the two tracks. Constantly hearing from the Shuddha Bhaktas about what Shuddha Bhakti means. Why should we hear? Because now we are doing this sadhana bhakti. Why are we doing sadhana bhakti? To get to the Shuddha Bhakti. If we don't hear what Shuddha Bhakti means from the Shuddha Bhaktas, why are we doing sadhana bhakti? So that is why these are the tracks. This hearing from the Shuddha Bhaktas should go on as we do the sadhana. Okay, coming to this track. This sadhana bhakti we are doing. And lot of negativity is coming out. Lot of ignorance and passion. What do we do? Shall we give up doing the bhakti? It is like giving up doing bhakti is, we are getting putrefied, in the sense, whatever negativity we have, it is just going to stink within us life after life. This has to be purified. So the bhakti should not stop. When we see this negativity coming out, the black water, the ignorance, or red water, passionate, when these are coming out, two things to do. As Lord Kapila said, do the devotion without violence, right? On the same note, we do the sadhana bhakti. When the negativity is coming out, then we should try our best not to put any more dirt on us. So if the hurting others is coming out, we should make sure that we don't hurt others. So stop hurting. Stop putting dirt on ourselves. And if we are being too passionate and stepping on the other toes, then stop being so insensitive. So that effort we have to do. So we don't put more dirt on others, on ourselves. So that's one thing. When the dirty water is coming out of us, we should at least stop putting more dirt in our cups. Okay. And the second thing is, let this track of hearing from the pure devotees go on. Go on and let the sadhana bhakti continue. This is equal to putting fresh water in our cups. So in this way, though our cup is filled with dirty water in the beginning, if we don't put any more dirt in the cup, and if we continue to pour more and more of water, the sadhana bhakti and hearing from the pure devotees, gradually over a period of time, we see our cup of water will slowly, the black color, the red color, everything will be replaced by the pure water. So sadhana bhakti should be continued with utsaha nischaya dhairyat, tat karma pravartana. Following the rules and regulations, we have to continue the bhakti. This is from Srila Rupa Goswami. Coming to rules and regulations. Why rules and regulations? The 4 regulative principles, as we have just discussed. This is to help us not to get caught up in the ignorance and passion. Not that we really get happiness in follow rules and regulations. We may not get the happiness, but at least we are not pulled into passion and ignorance. Real happiness will slowly come as we are practicing bhakti at a deeper level too, as we continue doing the Bahya Rupa Bhakti, and when we are cultivating the gratitude and all the qualities that pure devotees have. When these qualities start coming to us, especially the gratitude, when we start cultivating the gratitude, then we slowly start to get the internal happiness also in sadhana bhakti. So that's about the track of sadhana bhakti. Continue the sadhana bhakti with utsaha, nischaya, dhairya, with the determination, with the enthusiasm, and be patient with ourselves in the beginning, because the dirty water is going to come out. Being patient with ourselves, not adding any more dirt, and continue to pour the pure water of hearing from the acharyas and doing sadhana bhakti. So that way we continue the sadhana bhakti. So gradually over a period of time, as we get purified from the modes, and as we continuously hear from the Shuddha Bhaktas, the sentiments of the Shuddha Bhaktas, the raga, the mood of the Shuddha Bhaktas, we will start, it will trickle down to us. From the very beginning, it will trickle down, but we will start to appreciate more and more as we get purified. The raga, the attraction that these pure devotees have for the Lord, and the faith, the depth of faith that they have for the Lord, it will be rubbed on to us. It will trickle down to our hearts too. Yeah. So in this way, if we continue the bhakti with our sadhana bhakti on track and hearing from the raga bhaktas in the track, then what happens? Kapila says, this will be the stage that we are taken to, a beautiful one. As we continue this sadhana bhakti, hearing from the raga bhaktas, we come to a point where we also have that raga coming from out of our heart. Raga is spontaneous attraction. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mayi pashyati, tasyaham na pranashyami, sachame na pranashyati. They will come to such attachment and attraction to the Lord by the influence of this raga bhaktas, shuddha bhaktas, and by the purification that has happened through the sadhana bhaktas. This is the combination. Purification that happens through the sadhana bhakti and the influence of the shuddha bhaktas. The combination of this will take us to this stage of realizing the presence of Lord in everyone's heart. Okay, so that's about sadhana bhakti and how we should be hearing about Mahatam Bahumanena, respect, worship all those pure devotees. What is worshipping them? Not just doing the arati for them. Worship their instructions, follow their instructions, right? So that is Mahatam Bahumanena, like that. So Lord Kapila says all this. And here, to summarize this, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, Sarva Shastra Sara is Nama Ruchi Jivadaya Vaishnava Seva. If we have to encapsulate everything that is said here in the second subtopic about how to do this bhakti and come to this stage of realizing the presence of Lord in everyone, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, Sarva Shastra Sara, the essence of all the Sara, the essence of this bhakti is three things: Jivadaya, Namaruchi, Vaishnava Seva. By doing Jivadaya, we are avoiding the bhakti in ignorance and bhakti in passion too. Vaishnava Seva, by doing that, we are avoiding the Vaishnava Parada. And Namaruchi, by doing the Vaishnava Seva, we, since the Vaishnava Parada is avoided, and since the Seva Pravrutti is awakened, then it is easier to chant the Harinam. There will be less obstacles. The mind is less turbulent when you're chanting the Harinam. So this can be done from our side, voluntarily. Practice Jivadaya. Though the anger is coming out, though the intention of hurt is coming out, practice Jivadaya. Vaishnava Seva. Though we are not feeling so wonderful about all the Vaishnavas around, at least follow the Vaishnava etiquette. At least that will save us from Vaishnava Parada. These are the volunteer things that we can do, Jivadaya and Vaishnava Seva, and they can help us to get to Namaruchi. That's one way that we can do from our end. And there's one more way to approach this. when there is Mahatam Bahumanena, when you are doing Acharyopasana, and when you hear from them so constantly, day in and day out, and when you develop that bonding with them, with the Acharyas, there is so much that descends from their heart to our heart that we develop a lot of attraction for the holy name. And when there is Namaruchi, then automatically there will be Vaishnava Seva and Jivadaya. That will automatically come. But this can take a little time in sadhana bhakti. So until this gradually builds up, until the Acharyopasana gradually builds up, what we can do is, as Lord Kapila is saying, practice bhakti without violence and following whatever he has said. Jivadaya or Vaishnava Seva, and chant the holy name sincerely. When we do this, then we will be taken to a point where we have abundant of Acharyopasana. That is one of the milestones in our bhakti. If our Acharyopasana is getting more and more, it means we are sadhana bhakti is tending to get towards Shuddha bhakti. Then what to do until then? Then just continue to hear from the pure devotees in sincere sangha. These two things. In the beginning, this is all we need until we spontaneously get to the stage of Acharyopasana. Continue to hear from the pure devotees in the sincere sangha as much as possible, and we will be taken to that boundaries of Shuddha Bhakti, Acharyopasana, like that. Okay, so that's about sadhana bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. We haven't come to this. I think we'll pause here. This is about the evolution of the consciousness, and the next one is about time. Actually, okay, we'll pause. Don't want to rush here. We will pause here, dear devotees. That's all about the sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti. And this is really important for us because in whole Srimad Bhagavatam, here the different stages of bhakti are beautifully delineated, explained, different stages of bhakti. We are summarizing what we have heard today. Lord Kapila was telling us about different kinds of bhakti. Though bhakti is pure, depending upon the practitioner of bhakti and what mode is predominant in them, bhakti can look like bhakti in ignorance, bhakti in passion, bhakti in goodness, like that. So we have heard about how these devotees feel inside, how these people feel inside, and how they behave outside. In ignorance, they have hatredness. They are bitter, negative inside, and they don't mind hurting others, and they have pleasure hurting others. And in passion, they have enjoyment in recognition. So they do bhakti so they can be recognized. And if they are not recognized, they cannot perform bhakti. Recognition is their fuel. So that is in passion. And in goodness, they perform bhakti. They're not after recognition. They don't hurt anybody. But they're stuck at being peaceful in bhakti. But there is much more than just being peaceful in bhakti. That is Shuddha Bhakti. It is recommended that we stand on the platform of the mode of goodness to perform Shuddha Bhakti. So we have to go beyond goodness. Yeah, stand on the platform of goodness and then perform Shuddha Bhakti. And so we have heard about, after reading about these three kinds of bhakti, we have heard about the Shuddha Bhakta, how the flow of bhakti rasa is so strong from a Shuddha Bhakta. So the qualities of pure devotion, Nirguna Bhakti, that we have heard. And after hearing about all these kinds of bhaktis, Lord Kapila has explained how sadhana bhakti should be performed to get to this stage of realizing the presence of Lord in everyone. And that's where we have summarized that all this sadhana bhakti, which is the Panchanga bhakti, and very predominantly the four, which is Shravanam and Seva. Shravanam of Bhagavata Katha, Shravanam of Harinama, Seva of the devotees, and Seva of the deity. This is sadhana bhakti on a regular basis. And so we perform the sadhana bhakti, and in the beginning, though we see there is not a lot of negativity that comes outside, what we want to do is stop putting more dirt on us, and then continue sadhana bhakti as we continue to hear from the Shuddha Bhaktas. So this combination of continuing sadhana bhakti with patience, with determination, and with enthusiasm, while hearing the Shuddha Bhaktas, this will gradually lead us to a stage of Raga Bhakti. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. Seeing everything in relationship with the Lord and everyone in the Lord. That will happen. So Lord Kapila is giving us the way of how to get there. And at last, we have summarized the whole thing that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has said, that this sadhana, the whole bhakti can be summarized into three components. Practice Jivadaya, practice Vaishnava Seva, you will get the Nam Ruchi. And Nam Ruchi, to get the Nam Ruchi, we have to follow the instructions of who has that Nam Ruchi, those acharyas. So if we do the Harinama sincerely do the Harinam, then that also builds Nam Ruchi within us, which in turn can show up as Vaishnava Seva and Jivadaya. So this is both ways. We can do our best in terms of Jivadaya and Vaishnava Seva, so we can get to Nam Ruchi, and at the same time follow the instructions of the acharyas of how to worship the Nam Prabhu, Harinama, so we can get the Nam Ruchi. And then that way Vaishnava Seva and Jivadaya can be done easily, both ways. So whatever we can do at that point of time, we just do our best. And then the mercy will be invoked and we will be taken further. So I'm going to pause here, dear devotees, and we will do the rest next time. Yeah. Then I'm going to stop sharing any questions or replies.